So the first thing is, let's pay some attention to these folks because they are helping us out, and things wouldn't be as they are at this meeting and at other times if we didn't have sponsors. So a hand for the sponsors. Now I get to do a shame-attacking exercise. Some people did not follow directions readily in sending in their PowerPoints, so Eddie fixed mine up so that it would be the right size and take up all of the space that's available here. So thank you, Eddie. All right, here I am, being where you are, doing what's important. Let's start with the being where you are part. Noticing right now what's going on outside your skin. Just look around, feel around, smell around. And noticing right now what's going on inside your skin. Those are sort of what it's all about when it comes to being where you are, because where you are has things that are going on inside your skin and outside your skin. So again, take a look and see, well, what's going on outside your skin? What do you hear? What do you see? What do you smell? What are you touching? And depending on whether or not you've got gum, mints, other goodies, maybe you're tasting something too. And the second thing, what's going on inside your skin? And that's pretty much either going to be bodily sensations or thoughts and images. Now, where your body makes contact with the seat that you're sitting on gives you a little chance to get a sense of, I feel the seat, and then I feel my bodily sensations being supported by the seat. So at that little edge, that little transition place, you can sort of notice one side, notice the other side. The thing about thoughts and images is they often invite you to go traveling, to leave here and now and travel off to then and there. And you can choose to remain here and now, or you can return having noticed that you've gone traveling to then and there. Once you've noticed, you can come back to this place and this moment. So you can do this little activity with your eyes open. There's nothing magical about opening or closing your eyes. But if you just sit for a moment and notice that some thoughts and images are showing up, they're always showing up, and just see about, could I remain psychologically here where I am physically, and let those invitations to go traveling, a little bit like a taxi cab shows up, the door opens, there's a thought or an image inviting you to get in and go traveling. If you just notice the thought or image for a little while, then usually what happens is the door to the cab closes, the cab leaves, another one shows up, another door opens, another thought or an image will invite you to go traveling. And if you just watch that one for a while, then in a while that door closes, another one leaves. And if you should find, oh, I didn't intend to go traveling, but I find that I am at some other place in my life, someplace from the past or someplace in the future. I've never gone there yet, but somehow psychologically I can go traveling, or I'm at a different time. Then once you notice it, you can just bring yourself back to here. Sometimes you can control your thoughts and images. For example, you could make yourself think, I'm a banana. I invite all of you to have that thought. I'm a banana. Now, this is where it's worth noticing that because you think something doesn't mean you believe it. And so the reason that it's A, B, C, and not A, T, C is because we're interested in changing what you believe, not what you think. You can think all day, I'm a banana, I'm a banana, I'm a banana. I doubt any of you will believe it. And when you're working on changing your beliefs, you don't have to work on changing your thoughts. Instead, you can just work on, well, am I going to take that thought seriously? And sometimes you can't control thoughts and images, so Jack and Jill went up the hill. Yes. Good chance that all of the native English speakers got this. I don't know if the Danes, how did it go there? Not working for you. So one thing you have to do is to make sure your little illustrations work for the audience that you're working with. Most people who pick up another language, and thank all of you who are speaking English because I'd be out of luck. I'd barely get along in my own language, let alone another one. It's very unusual for them to get the nursery rhymes too. But if you're a native English speaker, chances are you got the nursery rhyme. And while you could keep your mouth shut, it's very difficult to keep Hill from showing up. So being where you are means being psychologically present in the moment in which you're physically present, rather than psychologically traveling to some other place or time. Now, is there anybody in this room so far who is going like, oh, this is way too woo-woo for me? One. Well, I'm doing okay then. Because for most of you, this is not too weird or strange or odd. Anybody have a transcendental moment? They feel they're going to leave here and some strange thing is happening to them? One. Okay.
I'm a banana.
You're a banana. That's right. You could notice that thought and not believe it. So what I want to hopefully stress is these activities to bring a person or to bring yourself, whether it's you or somebody else, into the moment that we actually physically are in. There's nothing spooky or necessarily mystical or anything like that about those activities. And if you're psychologically in the moment that you physically are in, chances are you will handle it better. Now, many times when people are psychologically present in a moment where there's nothing dangerous going on, they feel more relaxed. And relaxation is not the point. If something really dangerous were going on and you were psychologically present in that moment, chances are you would not feel relaxed. And you would handle those difficult circumstances much better by being psychologically present with them, as opposed to be drifting off somewhere else. Am I making sense to you? So being psychologically present is not about being relaxed, although often when you are psychologically present and there's no danger, you will find that you are more relaxed than you were when you were traveling off psychologically to some place that did seem dangerous. So now we got the first part. Let's look at the second part, doing what's important. Fortunately, control of our hands and arms and feet and mouth does not depend on our thoughts and images and bodily sensations. So let's try a little activity. This is a couple of I cannots. And the first one is, I can't walk over to the wall and back. Would you be willing to help me out?
Sure.
So come up here, please. And for our purposes, that yellow rectangle over there is going to count as the wall.
Oh.
So I'm going to ask you to begin saying a phrase. And while you're saying it, I'm going to give you an instruction. And I'd like you to follow the instruction, but I'd like you to keep saying the phrase. And the phrase is probably pushing up. I'm guessing. Well, that's all right. People will hear you. They'll
He's got.
well, it's all right. They'll hear you. Okay. And the phrase is, I cannot walk over to the wall and back. Now, for our purposes, that rectangle is the wall. So I'm going to ask you to start saying that. I'm going to give you an instruction, and I want you to follow the instruction. Okay? So I cannot walk over to the wall and back.
I cannot walk over to the wall and back. I cannot walk over to the wall.
Great. Keep it up.
I cannot walk over.
And while you're saying it, walk over to the wall and back.
I cannot walk over to the wall and back. I cannot walk over to the wall and back. I cannot walk over to the wall and back. I cannot walk over to the wall and back. I cannot walk over to the wall and back. I cannot walk over to the wall and back. I cannot walk over to the wall and back. I cannot walk over to the wall and back.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll let you go back there.
Didn't you just prove that I'm a good liar?
What I hope I just demonstrated, what you just demonstrated, is that even though we are thinking, even though we are saying we cannot do things, they don't necessarily control what we do with our hands and arms and feet and mouth when it comes to doing things. Now, everybody can participate in this one, which is, I'd like you all to begin saying, I cannot stay seated. I must stand up. 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 Thank you. Now, for most of you, a couple of you, you tell yourself things, you have to do them. But for most of you, you notice that when you are telling yourself, I can't do things, well, I could do them. Just because I'm telling myself I can't doesn't mean I lose control of my hands and arms and feet and mouth. Just because I'm telling myself I can't walk over to the door and back or the wall and back doesn't mean I can't do it. We have lots of control of our hands and arms and feet and mouth, even when we don't have so much control of our thoughts and images and bodily sensations. To say it in a shorthanded way, perhaps, we don't have to do what our mind says. Oops. We also can travel under different banners. So can I get another volunteer, someone willing to help me out? Come on up. I think this way will probably prove easier. So I'm going to ask you to walk over to the wall over there again. That's that rectangle.
Yeah.
Only I want you to travel under a particular banner. And the banner is, I have to, I have to, I have to. And what I'd like you to do as you're traveling, I'd like you to travel as grudgingly as you possibly can. Okay. Now, have you ever done anything grudgingly? No. So this will be new for you, but you probably have friends who've told you about doing things grudgingly. Okay. So again, and just for drama, you may not have a microphone, but just for drama, out loud, I have to, I have to, I have to, and do it grudgingly. Okay?
Okay. I have to. 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 I have to.
Great. Come on back now. Come on back. Pretty grudgingly. Okay, so now this time, I'd like you to make the same journey, only this time I'd like you to travel under a different banner. And this banner is, I choose to, I choose to, I choose to. Those are the words. And the way I want you to do it is willingly, sort of the opposite of grudgingly. Okay?
Yep.
And when you get there, just stay over there a moment. There's one more thing I want to show you.
Sure.
Okay. So,
I choose to. I choose to. Choose to. I choose to.
great. Now stay there a moment. Once again, excellent work. Now, the first thing I want to point out is he's in exactly the same place. The contingencies of the universe did not change. The only thing that changed was the way he participated in those contingencies. Am I making sense to you? And which way did you prefer to travel? I choose to or I have to? Yes, because I choose to is the way of a liberated human being. I have to, I have to, I have to. That's slavery. Nobody wants to live life as a slave. And that option of moving from slavery to a self-controlling, a self-running your life human being is doing things by choice. Now, the contingencies of the universe, there's plenty of have-tos there. But the way we meet those contingencies, we have a say about that. If we meet them willingly, if we meet them by choice, as opposed to grudgingly or I have to, our experience of life is quite different. Am I making sense to you? Now, as you come back here, I'd like you to walk slowly and take small steps. Is there any moment that you couldn't immediately turn to the left or the right? You might run into chairs or things, but could you do it? Yes. Now, what is being demonstrated is that in every moment, we have what we might call human freedom. We can radically alter what we're doing at any moment that we're doing it. It's just that usually we don't notice that we have this freedom. That making sense to you? But if you do notice it, then no matter what you're doing, you could keep it up or you could radically alter it. Okay? So thank you very much. So these are ways to be in the world, and I want to talk now about what I like to call leading principles and values, and I'm not too hung up on what we call it, but there are some distinctions here that are worth making. Now, a leading principle is a direction in which you choose to move. If you go either east or west, you can keep going and going and going. In the United States, we have this Energizer Bunny commercial. I don't know if it's making it around the globe, but you can keep going and going and going. So leading principles are not like goals. Goals are places you get to. If you want to graduate high school, well, usually if you put in the seat time, you can achieve that. If you want to be the best educated person you can be, when would you finish that? No matter how well educated you get, the next day you could get up and pursue being the best educated person I can be. If you want to get married, there's usually somebody. Okay, so you did it. You've got married. Now, if you want to be the best mate you could be, when would you finish that? No matter how good a mate you've been up till now, the next morning you get up, you could still be the best mate you can be. In fact, if you've been a lousy mate for 10 years and you're still married, the next day you could get up and start being the best mate you can be. You wouldn't start at the same place, but you could start in that direction. Am I making sense to you? Children, If you want a kid, you could get one the usual way, or you can adopt one. Again, the goal has been attained. But if you want to be the best parent you can be, when would you finish that? What they need at 2 is not what they need at 32, and a good parent can tell the difference. But you can go on being the best parent you can be for as long as you're around to do so. So these directions, not goals along the way, that's what I mean by a leading principle. And usually you can formulate a leading principle by, I want to be the best, whatever it is I can be. Now, of course, you could pick, I want to be the most mediocre student that I can be, and you could live up to that. Or I want to be a really lousy whatever I can be, and you could live up to that. There's no magic in your leading principle. You pick anything you like. But mostly when people are going to do something, they usually are interested in doing the best that they can do. Not the best, but the best that they can do. Am I making sense to you?
Okay.
Now, a moment ago, we saw, walk over the door and back, grudgingly or willingly. In other words, there's a way we do things. Whatever we're doing, we can do them in particular ways. If I wanted to go from here to Baltimore, I could travel, but I could walk, I could go in a car, I could take a train, I could crawl, I could walk backwards. There's a lot of ways to do things, and they might all get me to Baltimore, but I would have a different kind of experience depending on the way I did it. Am I making sense to you? So what I want to use the word values for is across a wide variety of domains, I would choose to do it the same way. Being the best mate I can be has very little to do with being the best fly fisher I can be, and I do have that disease. In fact, being the best mate I can be and being the best fly fisher I can be, sometimes are not compatible. But both of them I could do thoughtfully. Am I making sense to you? So values, no matter what domain I'm in, I could pick the same way of doing things, even though the things that I'm doing are quite different. Is there any difficulty about this distinction between what I'm calling a leading principle and what I'm calling a value? In other words, the direction that I'm going and the way I travel. Any trouble making that distinction? Good. So, using symbols now to see what to do. So this is kind of a sophisticated audience, maybe many people won't know this. How many people in this audience have ever Skyped? Okay, so a lot of people in this audience. One thing about Skype is that there's a big picture and then there's a little picture. A little picture is usually of you, and then the big picture, whoever you're talking to. Now, some people that you'll encounter, maybe depending on where you are, many people you'll encounter, they won't know anything about that. But many of them may have either seen or have heard of this television feature of the picture within a picture, which means you can watch dress, what is it? What's the wedding thing? Say yes to the dress, right? There you go. See how your audience will help you out, right? Say yes to the dress or the football game. Now, at my house, depending on who has the controller, which got the little picture and which got the big picture, you can work that out. But that's what I'm talking about. There is the little picture of the moment that we're living in. There's no place else we can live except right here, right now. But we don't have to live only for the little picture of the moment. We could live for the big picture of what we want our life to be about, those values and leading principles. So, the first thing I want you to do is to make a symbol of one of those things that you would pick, be the best mate I can be the best facilitator I can be the best son or daughter I can be the best parent I can be, something that you would pick. Everybody got one? Okay. Now I want you to think of something that would symbolize that. when I'm thinking it could be a phrase, it could be a picture, those medieval crests that have, a bunch of pictures and a saying at the bottom, something like that, something that for you symbolizes that entire domain. Is there anybody who can't come up with one? Okay, now I want you to do this. Take your arm and put your palm up like this. Okay. The other way, thank you. And on your palm, project that symbol. Everybody do it? Now look down your arm and see if you can't find a whole lot of behaviors that line up with that symbol, that line up with something that represents the big picture. And then if you look to either side, you'll see a whole lot of behaviors that simply don't line up. Anybody, I can't do this? So far, no. Now, what I'd like you to notice is if you do the things that line up with that symbol, the things that don't line up will take care of themselves. That making sense to you? So, how do I see what to do? I picked my leading principle. Let's be the best facilitator I can be. Well, how do I see what to do? This is a little simple exercise, not hard to do. Make a symbol of it, project the symbol on your palm, look down your arm. What are the things that line up with it? If I do those, I don't have to concern myself with the things that don't line up with it because I won't be doing them. I'll be doing something else. So let's talk a little bit about habits. Habits are something you do quickly and easily and without much awareness. That's another aspect of habits. So if you're going to change a habit, the first thing you have to have is raising your awareness. Now, we're right back to being where you are, being psychologically present with what's going on. Oh, look how I'm moving my hands and arms and feet and mouth. Oh, look what thoughts and images and bodily sensations I'm having. And the thing about habits is when you start raising your awareness, it's usually, oh, damn, I did it again. Right? Awareness starts after you're doing it. But if you keep working on, in the 70s, you used to call it consciousness raising, but raising your awareness, after a while, you'll catch yourself in the act. Oh, I'm doing it right now. This is your first opportunity to change because all the rest of the times it was too late. Now, if you catch yourself like 1/2 a second after you finished it, you can do like, oh, wait, I screwed up. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Right? But usually it's 3 days later and then you realize, oh, I did it again. So that's too late. Well, not for human beings, because it's kind of impressive. You can apologize for things you did a long time ago, and people go like, oh, you remembered that rotten thing you did? Kind of, thanks for remembering. But in order to change the habit, you first catch yourself doing it. How do you catch yourself doing it? Catch yourself doing it by raising your awareness. And then you do something that won't come quickly and easily. And thus, it may feel odd and weird and strange and not like me. Now, how many of you have ever changed a habit? How many of you found that when you tried to do the new thing, it felt odd and weird and strange and not like me? Exactly. The thing is, if a person will not put up with that, well, I ain't going to have odd and weird and strange and not like me, they can't change. Because that's just part of the deal. So, you might say, without the frustration tolerance of doing something that's odd and weird and strange, you can't build a new habit. It's just part of what comes with the territory. So raise your awareness so that you can catch yourself in the moment that you're doing it. Do the new thing. How are you going to find the new thing? Well, what lines up? And if you keep that up, after a while, and you guys tell me, after a while, you see it coming. You don't have to do the old thing before you start doing the new thing. You can see, oh, I'm already, kind of got that urge to move in that direction. I'm having thoughts of moving in that direction. I'm having images of moving in that direction. And I can do my new thing instead. Keep that up, and after a while, the new thing begins to become more and more and more frequent. Now, the thing about old things is we never really get rid of them. They're always hanging around. I like to say everybody has a voice inside their head that says, how about doing something stupid? Now, what the stupid thing is varies from place to place, time to time, and person to person, but I don't know anybody who doesn't have this voice. When I was a kid, people told me that I would always hear another voice that told me what I should do, and I don't know about you guys, but I have not always heard that voice. But I have always heard a voice that told me something stupid to do. And the thing is, it's often not that creative, so it's the same old stupid thing. Right? So sometimes I get a new stupid thing, but the old stupid thing that I already know how to do, that's always hanging around. Am I making sense to you? So those invitations to go do things that you used to do that didn't work, they're always hanging around. You can't really get rid of your human history, but you don't always have to go along with it, and you can build additional aspects to your history so that the new thing comes more quickly and more easily. So when it comes to doing what's important, focus on moving your hands and arms and feet and mouth, because you have more control over your hands and arms and feet and mouth than your thoughts and images. Plus, they are the way that you actually affect the world. How many of you have spent time in school where there was homework? How many of you have tried to do your homework by thinking about doing your homework? How did it work?
That's all.
You actually have to sit down and do it. That is how a change is affected. So in my own case, I went to college in the Central Time Zone where the good programs came on at 7 p.m. And at 6:55, I would sit down, I would think very systematically about all the homework that I had to do that evening, and then I'd watch television for 3 hours. It turns out this is not effective. So hands and arms and feet and mouth, because we have a lot of control over those. I can't walk over to the wall and back. I can't stay seated. I must stand up. Knowing what you're doing isn't the same thing as doing it. But it really helps. If you don't have any idea what you're trying to do, the chances are less that you'll succeed. But at least if you can identify your values and leading principles, you've got a leg up. Now, the fact that you've identified them doesn't mean that you're going to follow them. That's more work. But at least it tells you what you're trying to do. So here's what I might suggest as the formula for human liberation. By willingly doing something unpleasant, not grudgingly, by willingly doing something unpleasant and willingly refraining from doing something pleasant. Why? Just to annoy yourself? No. This is not just build frustration tolerance. You could do that. But in the service of something you choose to make more important, then I never have to be a slave to circumstance, whether the circumstance is inside my skin or outside my skin. This is not a bunch of psychological hocus pocus. This is really how human beings live life in freedom rather than slavery. So, if you want to be where you are and do what's important, then act. By which I mean, accept the world as it is, was, or may be. You don't have to approve of the world. I'm not asking you to approve of it. But if you don't give your permission for the world to be as it is, or was, or may be, you're in an argument with life. How many people have argued with life? How'd it work out? Don't get in that argument, right? You don't have to give your approval, but you could give your permission. then choose. Because you get to pick. That's the amazing thing. You could pick anything to make important with your hands and arms and feet and mouth. So pick the values and leading principles that are the ones that are of interest to you. This organization is about the power of choice. And then willingly, not grudgingly, willingly follow them. And finally, teach others to do the same. There's not enough people in this room, but teach these principles, and other people teach these principles, and other people teach these principles, and the power of choice will expand and expand and expand. Thank you. According to my watch, I have left 2 minutes. Is there anything that you want me to say something about I didn't get a chance to? Yes, ma'am.
Not that I want you to say that, but I just think your presentation has been fantastic. I've come across these ideas in other places or whatever, but it's really sunk in through your presentation. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I intended to be helpful. It's nice to know I succeeded. Okay.